Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to this special segment on the sidelines of the Bahrain International Defense Exhibition and Conference 2019, BIDEC 2019. Today is Wednesday, and it marks the end of the exhibition and conference. More than 60 participating countries and over 200 exhibitors across the exhibition alongside BIDEC. Today, we have with us Mr. Frank Balonis, the CEO and President of Falcon Desert International. Mr. Frank, thank you for agreeing to do this interview.
Oh, my pleasure. It's very nice to be here.
Mr. Frank, BIDEC presented or formed a platform for different minds in the field of defense and security to come together and discuss and showcase the latest technologies. Why do you think platforms like these are important?
I think they're outstanding in a lot of different ways. Number one, it shows the latest equipment and what's out on the market right now. There's a lot of professional crosstalk that occurs at these types of events. But on top of that, like the MEMTech aspect of it, you have a conference where you have a lot of different knowledge that comes together and is shared internationally to help move everyone forward and provide protection for everybody. Because in the end result, this is what everybody wants, a happy and safe world.
You mentioned MEMTech, and MEMTech's agenda covered a wide array of topics ranging from the use of technology and artificial intelligence to simulations and forecasting different defense policies and mechanisms going forward, so to speak. What was your take on the agenda of the conference, and what struck you as, let's say, the most alluring in the conference this year?
Well, first of all, I'm very, very impressed with the conference overall. MEMTech was amazing. It's clearly evident that somebody took the time to look at the subject matter that's to be covered and all the speakers that are going to be covered, because it covered such a wide variety of areas by a lot of specialists that could benefit not just Bahrain, but anybody. So it was a very, very well organized conference and an outstanding opportunity just to share that knowledge with everybody. So that portion of it was amazing. I really enjoyed that. Not just the simulations, but transitioning over into future forecasting like you had mentioned, but also talking about training as a whole, where we're going collectively. Even joint operations and joint training was even discussed to some aspect. So it was a great, great discussion I had by all.
Part of the conference, or part of the MEMTech agenda, was focused on simulation and, like you rightly said, forecasting. And that is the part that you participated and brought your 2 cents into the topic to the conference attendees. Would you mind sharing with the viewers your input on the topic in hand?
Sure. I talked a little bit about the state of the world and how there are threats irrelevant of what country you're coming from. The United States is suffering from cyber attacks just as much as any other country in the world. So natural disasters, diseases, all of these things are threats to any nation that's out there. But then I transitioned into the Middle East, having been here for so long. The Middle East is very unique, and we talked about some of the things that are concerns for the Middle East and how do we forecast that kind of thing. And then we also discussed urbanization and how the populace of the world is moving and gravitating towards large built up areas. So you have super cities that are forming, and how will that affect potential threats in the future or conflicts in the future, and how would you operate in that type of environment? And then I also discussed a little bit about simulations and what's required in the Middle East, the latest and greatest that's out there, and how all of that is pulled together to help us prepare for any type of situation that's out there.
Yeah. So to avoid jargon, and let's just take a step back, what are simulations exactly, if we would like to break it down to the viewers?
You know, simulations, there's a lot of different types of simulations. You have simulations that simulate the inside of a vehicle, for example, so that the crews know how to use that vehicle, and they're used to what we call switchology, for example. There's simulations that are out there that bring together multiple entities to talk about crisis management, for example. So it's a broad, wide range of tools that are out there. But one of the things that I highlighted is it's a tool. It's only as good as the input you provide into it, and it's only as good as the user that's using it. So it's still incumbent upon us, the users of those, to make sure that we have the proper use for them and the properly trained people to be able to integrate them into your organizations and benefit your organizations. And those systems tailored to your needs.
Okay.
Here in the Middle East, we're organized militarily slightly differently. The military and the civil sector actually work much closer together on a regular basis than in a lot of other countries in the world. So simulations need to be able to support that type of training. And the same when it comes to forecasting future conflicts or future issues. It needs to be able to cover what's unique to here. And those are the types of things that we discussed in the one panel that I was involved in.
So what you're saying is it could be a beneficial tool if used appropriately within your, let's say, national strategies of defense, and making sure the manpower and capacity building goes in line with the use of that tool and technology.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one other aspect to that is it's a great tool that can be used by everybody. For example, some countries have now begun building 3D geo-specific models of their country, especially critical sites of their country. And that allows rehearsal on the actual terrain that you may have to do something on. But what a great tool for multiple other agencies to use as well. And joint agency working together in those environments so that you're better prepared as a country overall.
Coming back to the Middle East, and like you rightly said, you've spent some ample time here in the region. What do you believe our priorities are right now, and what they should be in the future?
The ability to develop young leaders that are agile and adaptive and can think on their feet and be able to make decisions rather quickly in situations as they begin to unfold in this modern age of rapid communication and so on and so forth. All of that, it needs to be done here, just like it needs to be done anywhere else. The integration of tools that support crisis management and joint efforts as we move into the future. Actually, now today, you have many countries that work together to resolve an issue that pops up. Tools that help facilitate them working together are an outstanding asset to any country and any organization.
Going back to Falcon Desert International, what does Falcon Desert International do, basically?
Falcon Desert International is a general trade and contracting company based in Kuwait, and we predominantly work in several different sectors: healthcare, defense and security, construction. We do a lot of different projects. We try to support the government and what they need, as well as the civilian sector. We also do some consulting. People like me that go around and help people identify their needs, so on and so forth.
So as a company, and consultancy aside, because we needed your input in the conference, but as a company, how would you view the participation in or the contacts and networking in an exhibition like BIDEC?
Oh, it's invaluable. This is a great opportunity to, we represent a lot of companies from around the world to bring their product that is needed to the state of Kuwait and other countries within the GCC. And this is a great opportunity to see the latest and greatest and potentially new companies that could be brought into any country to help them as well. So it's a great opportunity to share knowledge. It's a great opportunity in a lot of different ways. So I highly recommend these conferences.
And just a final word, as a consultant, conferences like these, how do they benefit the host country?
Oh, I think they're invaluable to the host country. A lot of times, people like me, when we come to these types of conferences and speak, I try to tailor what I'm talking about to the benefit of the host country, as well as those that are participating in the events, all the other visiting countries. So I think it's invaluable to them in a lot of different ways. Knowledge, exposure to the latest and greatest equipment that's out there, communications with the subject matter experts in a lot of different fields from all over the world. Communications with other countries and rapport establishment with them. So there's a tremendous amount of benefit that not only to me and my company, to me as a person, as a consultant, to me as a professional in what I do, as well as to the host nation and all of those aspects for them as well.
Mr. Frank, a final word to our strategists and defense planners of the future. Is there a final word you'd like to say?
Well, it's a never-ending battle. You're always trying to forecast what's going to happen into the future. The two things that I always talk about or mention is, number one is the fundamentals. The fundamentals never change, and as long as you can fall back onto the fundamentals, you at least have a ground platform to build and work from. This is number one. And when it comes to forecasting, so on and so forth, you'll never have a perfect plan. That's the rule of life. You'll never know exactly what's going to happen. And in my lecture that I gave, I talked about something called the X factor. You know, when I was in the military, I went to Iraq. I never knew about IEDs. 12 hours into the country, I was struck by an IED. So you learn very, very quickly, and you have to be prepared for those unexpected things. And you know, the nature of those that wish to do you harm or those that wish to destabilize you, they're always going to look for ways to mitigate your capabilities. You know, just like I talked about in the conference, you know, the United States military got this multi-million-dollar tank, and what did they do? They pulled us into a city where most of the capability of that tank is mitigated. So always think forward in that regard. Never underestimate your foe, and be prepared to adapt rapidly, which is why you need to train your junior leaders that way.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank Balonis, CEO and President of Falcon Desert International, for the valuable information and your input. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Dear viewers, you've been watching a special segment on the sidelines of the Bahrain International Defense Exhibition and Conference 2019 on the closing day, being held under the patronage of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.